Are you ready? The Kornelia Stephanie Show. Wake up to love, your call to action. Join Kornelia as she empowers others to live heaven on earth. Kornelia teaches listeners how to be the authority over yourself, embracing your inner guru. Feel yourself uplifted into limitless expansion, integrating ease and grace in a changing world. This show will cover topics such as unconditional love, your physical body, how to be in extraordinary relationships, create financial and emotional wealth, embracing entrepreneurship in the new earth.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kornelia Stephanie Show. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you. I have incredible guests today, but I always do. I always bring on amazing guests. So I'm really excited about you meeting David Chametzky. He is a deep message expert, as he's a speaker, author, podcast host, and producer. But just now in the green room, we also discovered that he's also a tour guide. He's a true pathfinder with a mission to uplift lives in every way by empowering individuals and teams every day through his content and teachings. He brings insights and a unique guiding principle so others can grow and overcome their ashes and learn to soar once again. Welcome to the show today, David Chametzky.
Hi, how you doing?
Good,
So excited.
good,
Thank you
good.
so much.
Yeah, it's so great that you're here. So you're currently residing in New York, and
Yes.
you do a lot of different things. I mean, you're a publisher, you help people overcome limiting beliefs, but we were most specifically talking about what you are doing with this new book journey that you're taking people on.
Yeah, so I take people on a journey, understanding their story, the story in life, not only the things they've gone through, but how to overcome them, and then what they want to do with it. Do they want to write a book? Do they want to be on stages or a podcast? And what I've done recently is I found a great way, a short method to create comic books.
No,
And
hold that up again. Hold that
yeah,
up
sure,
again, David.
sure, of course.
Yeah, the Pathfinder. So
Yep.
create comic books, you guys.
Yeah, so we create comic books that tell our story. And if you have a business, we can add that as well. I've also had a few clients who wanted to make sure their stories passed on to as a legacy. You know, sometimes we go after somebody passes on, oh, I wish you would have told me that one story or written it down. And there's ways to do that as well. So there's a lot of opportunities that can come in, and that's where it really is, knowing what we want to do with our story and how do we want to move it forward. Do we want to move it forward just as a book? A book could be just for your family. Much as we have our picture books, we can have story books also. Today's environment really allows us to do so much more than we had been able to do in the past.
So can you tell, first of all, I want to know a little bit about the Pathfinder comic book. I really love that idea. I think nowadays, we are really needing to connect with humor as well. With all the chaos and change that's happening on Earth, it's important that we connect with laughter as well
Sure.
and humor, right? So, but one of the things, like, what kind of stories would it be? Because you are on the Stories of Hope series today. What kind of stories are we talking about?
Sure. So like the Pathfinder. Pathfinder is a story of a gentleman and his wife or his girlfriend having a fight. He walks out of the house, storming out, and gets into an accident and ends up in this magical world where he meets Mr. 5S, where most of us will attack our senses. That's what, among the meanings of Mr. 5S is understanding it. Mr. 5S walks this gentleman through his journey, the path to find the Pathfinder, and journey through the things that we have to overcome. And the story goes through it. And at the end, Mr. 5S leaves this man back into the real world, going back to his wife, and he was safe. And he remembered the love and what connections we have. So it really was a perfect book for inspiration. And, it really is a nice way of seeing it rather than going through a story when there's pictures. We all learn differently. And just by reading, some of us will learn, but through pictures and sounds and tastes, those are the ways to connect ourselves to move us forward.
Yeah, I love that idea. Um, and it just really, when you're looking at presenting the story in a more humorous way, right? In a funner way, if you
Yeah.
will, then you feel like you really want to get into it more, right? And because the seriousness it's not so serious. Do you find that?
Yeah, no, for sure. But you dive into a story like that where you can visualize yourself. It's sort of like the Wizard of Oz when they were started in the black and white, and this is all on color the book, but you could see the difference between the real world and then this mystical world, and that's where we want to go into. Sometimes when we're going through our challenges, when we need the hope, we want to disappear, we want the pain to stop, but how do we make that happen? And that's where a lot of mental wellness starts turning into is we just want it to stop for a moment. And if we can stop it for that moment, regroup, and then that's where we become stronger. And that's what the story is. It really is a story because it even turns into the old story of Sisyphus, the man who pushes the boulder up the hill. At the beginning, he didn't like that job, but at the end of the story, he actually found pleasure in it because that was his responsibility. Much it's like our responsibility to move forward through whatever stories we have, but in a healthy way to have a brighter future.
Yeah, and I think this is so important right now because of all the resources that we have, all the platforms that we have of the creative ways that we can tell the stories, right? With podcasting or book publishing or voice. Uh,
Yeah, getting on stages. I mean, I tell my stories all the time. I have a lot of stories of inspiration, and that's why, I was so honored to be asked to be a guest here. There's so much inspiration when we look for it. And that's really powerful when you can look at even the bad situations in your life and see how they could be turned around or filtered to be once again empowering for ourselves.
So not only are you helping people write their books, tell their story, but you also help them to then get on stage. So things that people never thought they would do,
Yeah.
uh, really, things that would hold them back, and maybe they wanted to do it, maybe they didn't know they wanted to do it, and now they're doing it, and then they're also getting on a stage or who knows how that is flowering and how that is taking off. But this is something that is happening, a service that you're offering to people.
Yeah, I think we need to overcome whatever stories we hear or what we think that our stories are. And once we're able to do that, I did that for myself. I'm not sure that if you look at my history, about 5 years ago, even though I was being a coach and a mentor for many years, I tried to kill myself. So I talk about mental wellness, and because I was not using my resources, so I needed to now religiously. I use my resources. So when I feel it, I understand myself better, and that's why I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago. And I think we all need that. Whatever we've experienced, and we have to transform into something that's going to be stronger for us, not weaker. We should all be stronger because of our experiences, not weaker because something happened to us.
It's so good that you're talking about this. I mean, I know that you know this because if you overcame suicide, I also am one that has overcome suicide
Thank
myself.
you. Good.
So I know what that pain is like because you said the words, and this is why I want to acknowledge you for saying that. And I want to let anyone here that is listening to this and is having suicidal thoughts, have had suicidal thoughts, or whatever. Usually when people have those kinds of thoughts and you're in that kind of pain, what it is, and David said those words, it's that you really just want out of that. Doesn't necessarily mean that you want to kill yourself or hurt yourself, but what it is you want the pain to stop. And that's really what it comes down to, is you want the pain to stop. And now through that experience, David, you've learned how you got through it. And if ever there's times where any kind of thoughts like that show up again or something, you know that you are resilient and you've moved through it before and that you don't have to take action on those feelings or thoughts.
Yeah, I was like I said, I'm a different person. I mean, part of that story, the Pathfinder, was written shortly after my recovery, and I just want to mention to everybody, 89% of people who attempt suicide are unsuccessful. We hear about the people who are successful. Statistically, it's out there. It's not because I say so. So we want to make sure that when people talk about it, they don't receive the shame of what happens. And for the families that are the 11%, statistically, we want to make sure that they also understand it's not their fault. There's so many different things that go into it. We all experience mental wellness issues. If you're yelling at your kids, it's a mental wellness issue. It's not as severe as something else, but it's something that we can change. It's something I learned about myself, the triggers, and because I had always been working with triggers with people with triggers, I've been lucky to be able to know the right techniques to help people who have been diagnosed with PTSD. I'm not a therapist, so it's not a therapy, but I know techniques that assist people because I've done it. I've been there, and I that's why I call myself a mentor versus a coach because I've been in that darkness, and it's not just I felt it. Your feelings might be different, but I felt something similar to what you felt, and because of that, we can sit and understand it on a completely different level.
Yeah, that's so good. I call myself a mentor as well. I think this is a really, a wonderful way to share yourself and help people see it in a different light. I didn't know it was 11% of
Yeah.
people that actually succeed in suicide because again, the way that the information is shared nowadays all over the world, it is shown, it appears that the suicide rate has gone off the charts and whatnot. But it's interesting to have those type of stats and bring it back to, hey, it's only 11% out of.
Right. Well, I think that's what you and I were talking about in the green room about
Yeah.
just our news. I don't care what news you listen to. It's always going to be worse about the other person or about something bad. Let's go find out. I mean, John Lennon said his mother once told him a story about when there's something really bad going on, look for the people who are doing good in the world. And that's why I'm among the things I'm doing besides my mentoring and the book writing. I also have a charity called Goons for Good that you don't have to pay for. It's something that we help each other. One of my mentors was Frank Shankowitz, the gentleman who created the Make-A-Wish Foundation, if you
Oh,
don't know. And
yeah.
he once said, everybody could do something. It's not about that you have no money. So show up at a food pantry, and there's always somebody who needs food. If you show up at certain places purposely, good things will happen. And I always use that as a great story because we help each other when we're doing the most for each other.
So good. Let's tell the audience how they can look you up, learn more about what you do, and look at your information about your books.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, so my website is David Chametzky, which is a unique name. So there's not too many of us, which is the same thing. I'm on all social media platforms. And I'd also say if you can listen to my podcast, Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat, it's all about bringing awesome thoughts and hitting your sweet spot.
So I love everything that you're doing. You have shifted my mindset already. I just want to say in the short
Thank you.
time that I've known you now, and that is, like we were talking about going to New York. I was saying that I don't know if I would want to go there right now, and then you shifted my mindset with your perspective. So I just want to thank
And if
you.
you come, I'd be more than honored to give you a little tour of New York.
Oh, that would be, I definitely should put that on my list of things to do because that would be fun. I've always wanted to go to New York. I've always wanted to see it, but based on the hype that's out there right
Sure.
now, I was like, oh, I don't want to go there. So good on you for that. How many pages is your book, The Pathfinder? I'm
So
curious.
the comic book is only about 30 pages, 35 pages. So that's why you could really read it in one sitting, 30 minutes if you're detailing the comic book. I have other books that are much longer that tell a little bit more about Pathfinder. I even have a few Amazon bestsellers. I wrote when I was sad, I wrote a story about a woman owning a horse ranch called Redemption. There's a lot of books and there's a lot of ways to get through your darkness to do that. So really for the Pathfinder, it's 32 pages. You can
Yeah.
definitely sit that down in 15 or 20 minutes easy.
It's totally doable. It's totally doable to write it and read it. So that's intuitively, I was feeling called to ask you that, which
Thank you.
normally I don't ask a person how many pages is in their book. So I just wanted to bring that out. Well, David Chametzky, I thank you so much for coming on the show today. And I know we're going to be seeing each other again. We'll be talking more in collaborative other ways that we can show up and do the things that we do.
Okay, thank you so much. And I can't wait to see you in New York.
Good, good. We're going to take a break on the Kornelia Stephanie Show. We'll be right back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. Kelsey Ellis is a wonder seeker on a journey to live poetically. When she's not keeping up with her 4 homeschooled children, she's pursuing her lifelong dream of being a writer and enjoying the wonder of life. This has led to publishing her first book, Reawaken Wonder, Discover Joy in the Beauty of Every Day. She believes that each of us has a poetry written within us that is our way of being. And when we can be wholly ourselves and be wholly present, we are given a gift. We are giving a gift to those around us. The first step to finding our poetry is through, once again, finding wonder and reconnecting with our place in the greater world. And she's inviting others to join her on the journey toward wholeness by reawakening wonder and rediscovering who they've always been. I love that so much. Welcome to the show today, Kelsey.
Thank you so much, Kornelia. I appreciate being here.
So, when you came in, I called you the Wonder Lady,
Yes.
because usually this is not a message that we hear, this is something that really shifts our focus, but it shifts your focus in such a way of being curious. So what sparked this whole wonder movement, should I say?
Yes. So it was about 6 or 7 years ago. I had kind of an epiphany that beauty mattered. I had my first 2 children and things were kind of hard, getting through those really early toddler years. And I was pregnant with my 3rd child. And I had this moment where I was like, oh, I need more things of beauty in my life because I'm forgetting, like I'm not seeing just because there's all of that's happening. And then I had my 3rd child and I fell into postpartum anxiety. So it was even harder than before. But I had this one little thing in the back of my head, look for beauty, look for beauty, look for beauty. And then one day, we live in New England. And so outside our door, we have a sugar maple and there's sugar maples up and down the road. And we tap the trees on the road and make our own maple syrup. And so one day I had to check, the tap and say, do I have to wrap 3 children, toddlers and babies, and get them up and down the road to collect however many gallons of sap? Is it time for that? And I go outside the door and kind of shutting off like the kids playing quietly in the other room. And one of them was sleeping. And there's this drip of light, this tiny at the tip of a spool. And it just started growing and glowing. And suddenly that glow was like huge. And I gasped. It was just, I stopped breathing. It was like, just that gasp of awe and wonder. And I sat outside for 20 minutes or more. I don't even know how long. Time just stopped. It disappeared. And I had that feeling of all of my muscles relaxing and that sensation of just that water falling down through my back and down all the way through my feet. And my whole perspective shifted and I felt alive for the first time in months. And I realized it was not beauty I was looking for. I was looking for wonder, which is different than beauty. And so that moment and realizing that, I was like, I'm deciding at this moment to search for wonder. And that kind of helped bring me out of that postpartum anxiety. It gave me something to focus on and seek for more and more. So that's kind of how it came about. And just slowly, as the years progressed, COVID hit. And my husband's birthday was like the day after the shutdown started. And he's like, why don't we do this wonder thing and invite a bunch of people into it and do it between our birthdays where we do 6 weeks of wonder. And we just put on Facebook, invited friends, and had a Facebook group that was 6 Weeks of Wonder. And we just shared pictures and poetry and everything we could every single day. And suddenly we're looking for hope in the midst of a really dark, horrible time in, the world. And I didn't feel that intensity of COVID like a lot of people did, because my mind was searching for wonder. Like that's where my focus was. And that was a really big deal for that time. So, and ever since it's just been growing, and like I was writing a different book and wonder just came out of the pages. Like, I think I need to write on wonder first, and then I'll write the other book. But this just wants to take up everything I'm writing about. So it turned into Reawaken Wonder.
Oh, what a great story. You totally captured it all in your telling of the story, with, I was with you in your feeling of just having to go out and look for the sap on the trees, and how just the whole daunting task of having to do, one more thing, and how long is it going to take, and all the things you had to do, when all of a sudden you were touched by the wonder, and
Yes.
how it took your breath away.
Yes.
And then when you had that experience and it took your breath away, where you were like, I want this again. I want to experience this again, because really what it did is it healed you.
Yes. Yes. It's very, very much it healed me. And every single time that I've had that experience, it just heals something deeper. Like every time there's that little bit of healing, whether it's that moment or, my son calling out, hey, come here, there's dragonflies, and sitting amongst 100 dragonflies swirling for like an hour. We all five of us at the time sat and they're just flying in circles. And there's nowhere more important to be in those moments, but present in that moment.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, the fact, that you were in your postpartum and you had your depression and all of that, and then you were touched by the experience of wonder, and it took your breath away. Then it's not like your postpartum and depression, was,
It wasn't gone per se.
right?
Right. Like it took some time of seeking. It took, I went from seeing, beauty maybe once a month to when I was like, okay, I am seeking wonder now. It happened more often, but it was still months apart. And then it was weeks apart. And then it was days apart. But it takes time to kind of retrain your brain and like those neural networks to actually see what you're looking for. It's a habit. I don't want to say that you can see wonder just on a whim, but you can train yourself to see wonder more often, and to like even just stepping outside and taking a deep breath to connect with what's around you, and taking that time is a step towards receiving the wonder.
Well, it's just even your son saying, look at here, we've got dragonflies. And then you going there and seeing 100 dragonflies flying around. If that's not wonder, I don't know what is.
Exactly.
So it's, if you're looking for a wonder, then that's why I said, when I saw that you were coming on the show, I thought, oh, this is so good. We really need what it is that you're offering, what it is that you're sharing with us today, because there is so much mental unwellness. There's so much anxiety. There's so much despair, and so many different things that if we can, you're the perfect example of a person that was in depression postpartum, and yet at that time, wonder found itself through you,
Right.
right?
Right.
Right. And so is the book published?
Yes, it is published. It is live both in ebook and paperback. Here's the paperback. Where's my thing?
What's it called? Reawaken
Wonder. Yep. Discover joy in the beauty of every day.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's live on Amazon.
So that's so great. Now, you said you were writing a book, a different book. Is
Mhm.
that book done?
That one is not done. That one, so this one just got published last week. The ebook went live, so it's been out maybe a month and a half for the paperback. So I haven't gotten back into the flow of
The other?
writing yet. You know, there's so much to learn
Yeah.
in the world. So there's been a lot of learning curve here that is not related to writing, but
Yeah.
eventually I'll get back into the next one, hopefully sooner than later, actually. So
Well, I just want to say congratulations. I mean, as an author myself, I know how challenging it was to complete a book.
yeah,
That in itself is huge. That in
yeah,
itself is huge because all the old programming comes up. Who do you think you are? You know,
exactly.
who do you think you are? And then you just have to
Exactly.
keep going through and
Mhm.
keep staying true to the dream. Now, were you a writer before this book or the other book?
I always wanted to be, but I listened to those voices.
Ah,
And but I was talking to my husband recently and realized that every possible like English paper, and even in my master's program when I got my my master's in theological studies, I I did a book of poetry somewhere as instead of a paper. Like so it was mostly usually poetry based, but definitely like and there's poetry in this book. But there's definitely it's kind of more of a poetic prose in my style of writing. So
yeah, I think this is so important. You know, people really need to be inspired and infected with this energy and
yeah.
redirecting. Let's look over here. Let's look over here.
Mhm.
Let's see if we can see it. So you've become a writer. You're homeschooling your children. How's all that going?
It's going well. We've gotten into a rhythm of school and also just watching them have the extra time that they need to keep their imaginations going and to just be able to live in that longer than they would if they were in a school system. Like they are, all four of them just deep dive into the play together, and it's amazing to watch. And they're always inviting us into wonder, like, "Oh, come see this beautiful thing, Mom. Come see this really cool thing, Dad. Come see it." And it's just getting to see from their perspective, and half the time be reminded when I'm, legitimately being way too adult, even though I'm the wonder seeker, the one writing the book.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Mom, come see this. You got to experience this wonder." So it's fun.
Well, I think this is so great, with, having a mother like you that is, homeschooling the kids, having parents like you. If I was a young mother, that's what I would be doing. I've thought about this often
Mhm.
that would I be doing that? And I certainly would, because I think it's so important that your children experience exactly what it is that you just said. And
Mhm.
that is the level of curiosity and excitement and enthusiasm for allowing their creativity and just curiosity of what is showing themselves.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think it's great what you're doing. So let's tell the audience how they can find you on social media. Do you still have your Wonder community on Facebook?
That one we have not. I'll be starting a new one probably. I'm thinking actually we're pretty much planning an event on May 10th for Wonder, and just going through some of the different activities. And I have kind of oh, what's it called? Like a guided meditation type thing to get you back into finding wonder, like just experiencing a moment as I speak through it, and then that usually triggers a memory for somebody as to what they like something in their past, so they can say, "Oh, I've seen it over here." Because sometimes it takes experiencing it again or having somebody else speak it to remember that you yourself have had that experience before, something similar, and then once you find one of those, you find others that, "Oh, there was this time and this time and this time." So I can be found though on both Facebook and Instagram at Kelsey K Ellis author. So that's my yeah, both handles are that. So
Awesome. Yeah, I love how you just described that. What you're doing is you're helping people make the connection.
yeah.
You're helping them make the connection. And so you're setting that up beautifully. And I wish you so much success. I thank you so much for coming on the show today and
Thank you so much.
inspiring us with your wonder movement. And I look forward to hearing more about it in the future. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Cornelia. It's been great to be here.
Thank you, Kelsey. We're going to take a break on the Kornelia Stephanie Show. We'll be right back, everyone. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for listening and tuning into the Kornelia Stephanie Show. I can't wait for you guys to meet Susan Glavin. Now, she's been here before. I think over the years, at least 3 or 4 times. She's a certified accelerated neurohypnotherapist of the National Guild of Hypnotherapy. She has her certification with the Ford Institute of Integrated Coaching. She's the creator of the Modern Day Mastery course, Breathwork Facilitator, author of the, you say it,
F-It Manifesto.
A Woman's Kick-Ass Guide to Liberation. She's a leader of women's circles and transformative retreats. She's not just a guide. She's a passionate advocate for women unlocking their true potential within each individual. She has dedicated her life to supporting and inspiring others to become the greatest expression of who they truly are, not false identities that have been programmed into our subconscious mind. Susan says that her journey is a testament to resilience and courage, and that this is a reminder from the deepest challenges that we can emerge the most profound wisdom and strength. She believes that anything can be healed and forgiven. Welcome to the show, Susan Glavin.
Thank you, dear. It's so great to be back here again. You know, one of my favorite things is radical amazement, astonishment, and awe and wonderment. So I am fortunate to experience that in my life. And I'm so excited to share this story because you're a big part of this story.
Oh.
Yes. And so I'm just excited to share. So it's all about the wonderment and awe of life. And I want to just inspire people to remember that and to embrace that and to look for it because it's there.
Do you know that the guest we just had before you, you have to watch this back because she's here to create the wonder movement. She's here to create the wonder movement. In fact, we talked about wonder, and now you're coming on talking about wonder. So the two of you, certainly, she's a young mom. You're gonna love it when you watch it back. So talk to us about the story and of what you want to share with us today about that story, that magical wonder story.
Yeah, this was about 2016. I believe it was April, because I remember my grandson his birthday was the next day. And the night before, I had this most vivid dream. And I was in someone's house and there was this tree or bush and it was like lit up like crystals. And I was looking at it and all of a sudden this red dragonfly lands on it. I remember going, hey, everybody, come look at this dragonfly. And all of a sudden it turned into a smiley face. And I went, that's wild. So like I usually do, I go and look at what the spiritual meaning dreaming about a red dragonfly. And it said, impending doom or loss or transformation. And of course, I'm always like, I'm going for the transformation, right? So I just thought, oh, this has got to be about transformation in my life. So I pick up my grandson, he was 7 at the time, and to take him fishing for his birthday. And we go and we get everything. We're actually sitting in the car and I get a phone call from you. And you said, what are you doing? And I says, well, I'm taking Bodie fishing for his birthday. You said, well, I have some bad news. And I said, what? And you said, Sandy passed away in a scuba diving accident. She had a heart attack and passed away. And I was just in shock because Sandy was one of our favorite people. She was so bright and so big and so beautiful and always so happy. Okay, always so happy. And that's what she shed onto the world and all of her students. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I started, Bodhi says, what's wrong, Grandma? And I started sharing stories about Sandy and how amazing she was, and that she sang and played the guitar, and she was a teacher. And so we sit down by the, the pond there, and we casting in, and we lost his hook, and I forgot to bring the fishing tackle with us. So we had to walk back to my car, and we walk back into the park, and there's this stand of trees, and all of a sudden he points up and he says, what's that, Grandma? And I look up, and there's this huge smiley face in the trees way up. These are tall trees, and it's like this perfect white smiley face. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Somebody had to get in a ladder, a really tall ladder, to get up there. So I'm like, okay. So we go sit down again by the pond, and we're sitting there. All of a sudden I'm like, oh my God.
No.
The dragonfly, impending doom or death. And then the smiley face. And I'm like, oh my God. It's like, wow. So we get done. The next day, I'm taking my grandson to daycare. And I go by this little minute mark. Have the reader boards that go across. Right as I'm driving by, this smiley face goes across. And I'm like, okay, whoa, what's going on here with this smiley face, right? So then I go later that day, I'm shopping, and I'm standing in line with my new pair of shoes. And I look over, and there's a pair of jeans that I absolutely love. So I go over and I'm looking through to find my size. Big old smiley face button on one of the jeans. Not all of them, one. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I believe at that time I took a picture of it and texted you, and I said, Sandy's shopping with me today. Right? Yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh. So the next day I'm sitting with a client, and I'm telling her this story. And she said, I think it was an apparition. I think you should go back and see if that smiley face is there. And I'm like, I think I will. So I go back to the park. No smiley face, nothing. I mean, I looked up, I'm looking in the trees. Did someone spray paint this, to cover it up? And absolutely nothing. So that year I turned 60. And I usually take a morning walk. My birthday's in July, so it's always usually beautiful. So I go to the same place, and I'm going to walk around Round Lake. And there's this children's play area where they have the wood chips, so that they don't hurt themselves if they fall. And as I walk by, I look over, and in the wood chips is a smiley face. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Sandy. I remember sitting down on the bench and just crying in that she was there wishing me a happy birthday. And just the awe of it, that she was connecting with me in this way, and how beautiful it was. So later, the next year, I'm sitting with my dear friend at Salty's on the water on the Columbia River. And we're sitting there, and all of a sudden this big barge goes by with this big old smiley face on the side, right? And I'm like, oh my God, Sandy, it's you again. Oh, here she comes. And then just this last year, every year she comes. Every year there's a smiley face somewhere. And I had a dear friend of mine say, you need to make a birthday altar for yourself. And I've been to her house many times. So she sets up this whole thing. I get done with my beautiful altar, and I'm walking outside of her house, and I look to the left, and there's this little plaque that says, I'm watching you, with a little smiley face on it. And I said, there's our girl again. And just this week, I was sharing with my grandson, who's now 14, about the story. He says, Grandma, I think I remember that. And he's been like a soul mate of mine before he even came into the world. So the fact that he's the one that pointed out, Grandma, what is that? Was absolutely perfect. And we were sitting there, and he says, I remember that story, Grandma. I said, you do? He goes, yeah. So we're finishing with our meal. We're packing up our stuff, and they bring us a bag with, guess what on it?
Smiley faces.
Smiley face. And he was like, no way, Grandma, no way. I go, Sandy's here. She knew we were talking about her. She kind of shows up when she hears her name. So again, this is part of one of the many stories in my book, which is called Living in Wonderment, right? That's the name of my book, Living in Wonderment, Stories of Courage, Trust, and Magic. So again, I really feel like this is available for all of us, especially during these times when we really could use some more wonderment and magic in our lives, and to know that, the people that we love, they're not far away. They really, yeah, you just call out their name, they're just here. So again, like she showed up before the call when I was in my office, just delighted that we were meeting. Because
it's the way that you connected the story, that you connected with her, and the way that you're telling the story, how you set it up, like the day before when you had that experience, and then the next day it's because you're so present, and it is truly your medicine, how you bring that awe and wonderment in your storytelling and to the people that get to be in your influence and connection. So I just want to thank you. I want to let the audience know where they can look you up on social media, and also where they can look and get your book.
Well, it's not published yet, my dear. We're still in the process. And we'll see, maybe by the end of the year. But you can definitely get a hold of me at susanglavin.com. That's my website. I'm on Facebook. I don't have an Instagram. I'm pretty kind of an organic kind of gal, and things just kind of flow. So but if you want to connect with me, I would love for you. You can actually get a free Unshakable Confidence hypnotherapy session on there that is marvelous. I'm getting tons and tons of reports about how great it is for people that continue to listen to it, especially when you're in the alpha state before waking up in the morning, having life-changing results from listening to that hypnotherapy session.
Well, that's wonderful. I think it's so great, what you're doing in your life right now. I have a special treat for you. You ready?
Yes. What? Oh my gosh. I love it, honey. That is perfect. There she is in all her glory. I think that's so awesome. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Sandy keeps smiling.
She does. The girl, it just keeps shedding her beautiful light and humor. One of the funniest people I've ever met.
Yeah,
she's a smiley face, right?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you came on and that you shared that story. Susan Glavin at susanglavin.com. We're going to take a break, everyone. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Larisa Makuch is the founder of Abundance Academy. She empowers professional women to achieve their dreams with clarity, confidence, and conviction while trading stress and overwhelm for a rich and fulfilling life of purpose. After working with her, Larisa's clients have leapt over the wall of inaction to double their income in 5 weeks, closed 6 deals in a single afternoon following 15 minutes of mentoring, and experienced their highest income earning in months over and over again. She just published her book, Stop Procrastinating Your Life Away, and this reflects her mission to positively impact more than 1 billion across the globe. In her downtime, you will find Larisa creating magic in the kitchen, tapping into nature in cottage country, and living her active and best life with her husband and young son. Welcome to the show today, Larisa.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cornelia. It is a pleasure to be here.
So good to have you. When I hear the words abundance and closing deals and stepping into your full bloom and stop procrastination and really living your best life, it just fires me up and excites me on all cylinders. So tell us about the Abundance Academy.
Absolutely. I feel like we're soul sisters. So all of the words that you use in your show, they make my ears just sing and they make my heart happy. So love your emphasis on peace.
Thank you.
At the Abundance Academy, we work with professional women to help them steer away from the distractions and the habits that are holding them hostage in their lives. And we really want to encourage them to live their life on purpose and go after their dreams, not distract themselves with other things, not ignore them and just feel bad. We want them to truly have that wealth in terms of money and also health, relationships on all aspects, have beautiful contribution to the world, whether that's for in a job, whether that's by volunteering. Everyone in the world needs to do something, because that inner fulfillment, that mission that they're accomplishing is going to give them the satisfaction that they crave. And so we help them really uncover what that is, not just at the surface level, but deep inside. And when they do, things align. And when things align, magic happens. Miracles happen in your life. You don't know what they are, but they're exactly what you need them to be.
Yeah. So it's almost like, like what was coming up for me when you were talking is once everything is in alignment and you are living from your abundant state and you're in that alignment, in the abundance, you are then everything just kind of works itself out, because you're in that right and perfect alignment, would you say? And also in your true north.
Yeah, when you're following your North Star, when you are aligned to what you were born and destined to be, things feel good. So often people ask me, what is alignment? Like, what is alignment? How do I get there? Well, how do I even know if I'm aligned? When you feel good, you will feel aligned. And a lot of people go out and seek happiness, but they don't even know what that actually means to them. And I think so often people lack the clarity, the confidence, and the conviction to pursue their dreams. And it starts with the clarity. If you don't know what you want, how can you get there? And it's not going to happen overnight if you've never thought about it before. It might take a little while. However, it's okay, because once you start revealing those things that feel good, once you start test driving your dreams, I like to say test, like before you buy a car, you're going to test drive it. So test drive your dreams. See if they're even a good fit for you. So often people create these dreams and they're like, I actually had a client, and she's like, she had a dream to have $1 million, and she got it, except it didn't come the way she wanted it. And she and I had a conversation, and she's like, I don't feel so good about this. This is not how I planned it. But she didn't put the order in the universe for all the other things. She just wanted the $1 million, and she was so focused on that. And so it's really important that we keep dancing with the possibilities. We keep clarifying, we keep going there. And we keep listening to those intuitive hits and those little whispers that are happening each and every day.
Yeah, it's so important because, I think you were saying that earlier, and I could recognize myself in there, back in the day when you would listen to the mind, and the mind would be telling you, all these things that you want, when it wasn't really, no, is that really? Is that really? Is that really? So, that during that time. So, and knowing what you want is a huge piece. Knowing what feels good. I like that. What feels good is not in the mind. It's definitely in the body, in the experience. And so then you wrote the book, Stop Procrastinating. Is that the title again? Stop Procrastinating.
Stop procrastinating your life away. I think so often people get into procrastination mode and think, I'm just procrastinating on one thing, but how you do anything is how you do everything. And when you procrastinate on the little stuff, you're procrastinating on the big stuff. And so often we procrastinate on the most important thing, and that is going after the dreams that matter.
Yeah. So why did you title it that?
Okay. So funny story. I was actually at a conference years ago. And I was having lunch with a colleague, and she was sharing a random story about a conversation she had with someone else. And she's like, so when the lights are green all across town, you're going to go for it. Is that what I'm hearing you say? And okay, maybe, I guess. And then she was telling me that she told this person, when this set of circumstances ends, guess what happens? Another set of circumstances will come up. Another set, and another set. And what is happening is you're procrastinating your life away. And procrastination is suicide of your dreams on the installment plan. Little by little, your dreams disappear. Has this been a pattern in your life? And when I heard her talking about this conversation she had with someone else, I almost fell off my chair. I was just like, and it just kept ringing and ringing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like how many things have I not listened to? because it wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right circumstance. And I had taken some really courageous leaps in my life at that point. And still there were others that I pretended weren't there. Deep down, they were there, pretended they weren't. And that didn't feel good. That made me feel really, really uncomfortable. And I think sometimes we crave these dream lives that are comfortable, but until you get to the point of extreme discomfort, you don't have the leverage to actually move and build some momentum. And the fact is, humans are more motivated by pain than pleasure. And when they actually tune into that pain or discomfort, it doesn't have to get really, 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 really bad. Once you turn your listening ears on, you can actually use that as leverage to fuel you forward. And so that conversation kept ringing and ringing. And then everywhere I worked with clients, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, there it is again. I'd go look at some other aspect of my life. Oh my gosh, there it is again. And it just kept coming up and coming up. I couldn't ignore it anymore. So.
What a great story.
Mm-hmm.
That is a great story, and it's a great title. And, you know, you said it earlier that procrastination is a dream killer. It's just like, you know, the word doubt, doubting yourself. Doubting is a dream killer as well, because you're holding yourself back from rising above the doubt where there's unlimited opportunities, right? Yeah. So I love that so much. And I love how that woman you know, broke it down of how, you know, there's another circumstance that's going to happen, till you recognize the pattern of procrastination in your life. And you see, oh, that's a pattern. And yeah, and to finally shift that pattern. So you just published the book. Has it been out for how long now?
It's coming out in May. However, this weekend, it will be available on my website along with a pile of bonus materials. So it's going to be released on Amazon in May. But if you go to my website, you can access the book in advance, and you can also access a whole pile of bonus materials. So
what a gift. What a gift.
Yeah.
Tell us the name of your website.
stopprocrastinatingbook.com.
Perfect. I love that. It's clean. It's clear.
We try to keep it simple.
I love that. It's like, okay, yeah, there's the website. That's the book. Because now, you know, now that you've written the book, you're now in the book selling business. And that's really one of the things that I learned when I published. Is I learned that, okay, I was naive. I thought, okay, now I published a book and now everything is going to be great and the book is going to sell itself and all the things. But no, that didn't happen. You know, we're now in the book selling business. So good for you that you have stopprocrastinating.com right away, and you're really getting your point across. So what else, where else can people find you on social media?
I am at My Abundance Academy. So at My Abundance Academy on Instagram. And I have a private Facebook group, Unleash Your Abundance. So if you are interested in joining a community where people learn more, dream more, do more, and collaborate, then that is where to go. So those are two pretty simple places to find me on social media. I do a Lunch and Learn episode every single week that's published in there. And we really connect with our community members and gift them opportunities that they are looking for. So if you raise your hand, we will be listening.
That's so good. I love seeing women like you, young mothers who are out there, you know, being a positive role model for how you want to live and create your life, and at the same time raising children. I think, you know, and being a wife. I think that just says a lot, and I admire that, because that's what we need. We really need that. And being in our abundance and living our best lives and living in our truth, it's our birthright. And we just have to, like you said earlier, align, right?
Yeah. And read more Wallace D. Wattles, because he does say abundance is your birthright. It's like the mantra. I hear you say that, and I'm just like, thank you, because he really conditioned that into us, into society, into people that have a higher level of consciousness. And that's really what it's about, is elevating consciousness.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I wish you so much success with your book and your movement. And maybe you'll come back again for a longer discussion on the Kornelia Stephanie Show.
That would be lovely. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody, for listening and tuning in. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you all next week. Take care.
You've been listening to the Kornelia Stephanie Show, Wake Up to Love, your call to action. Tune in each week on Transformation Talk Radio. Kornelia's joy is to engage others in practical ways, showing us how to live in the new earth in harmony with our true nature. For more information on Kornelia and her extraordinary work, or to listen to past shows, go to her website at korneliastephanie.com.